What is the greatest threat to human health in the United States today, or for that matter, the entire world? Investigative reporter on the medical and pharmaceutical industry, John Rappoport, has been writing a series of articles in response to this outbreak and the fears and the reality of the matter. In John's series on this China epidemic, which is linked in the description, he has pointed out that pneumonia, the key indicator of the coronavirus, can be caused by many other factors, other microbes, fungi, toxic pollution, etc. And Chinese authorities no longer require direct testing for the coronavirus. Instead, CT scans of the chest are employed. If these scans show signs of pneumonia, the label coronavirus is applied to the patient. But John also points out that historically, pneumonia has been a major disease in China. Long before the emergence of the new human coronavirus, people in China have been dying of pneumonia at the rate of about 300,000 per year. Now, those people who are passing away from the disease in 2020 are being labeled as victims of the so-called deadly epidemic. In the United States, every year, between 30,000 and 60,000 people die with the flu or pneumonia. It is sometimes difficult to parse the actual numbers because the CDC tends to combine pneumonia deaths with influenza deaths. But for the purpose of this presentation, it is appropriate to use even the highest estimations of the reporting. Now, we are a responsible nation, and we are typically among the safest places to be on the planet. Or are we? Given these statistics and facts, what is the greatest threat to human life in the United States today by the numbers? According to the Centers for Disease Control, for the 10-year reporting period 2007 to 2016, over 720,000 babies were killed on average. You don't have to be a mathematician to discern very quickly that in a 10-year span in the United States, we voluntarily kill more than 7 million children. It gets even worse when you break down the abortion rate by race and ethnicity. In a demographic study provided by the CDC for the single reporting year of 2016, abortions by race and ethnicity of women who obtained an abortion were reported by number of abortions per 1,000 live births. White babies. Out of 1,109 reported pregnancies, 109 were killed. That is nearly 10%. Black babies. Out of 1,401 reported pregnancies, 401 were killed. Nearly 30% from a segment of the population that makes up between 13 and 15%. Of the segment of population listed as other, out of 1,207 reported pregnancies, 207 were killed, 17%. Out of the Hispanic segment of our population, 1,174 reported pregnancies, 174 were killed. That is nearly 15%. Now, how does this stack up against overall mortality rates in the United States? Once again, let's ask the CDC. Mortality rates, or causes of death, in the United States in the reporting year 2017 are as follows. There were 2.8 million deaths. The infant mortality rate, 5.8 deaths per 1,000. What's interesting about that statistic? It does not include abortions. Aborted pregnancies are not counted in infant mortality rate. I wonder why that is. Now, for the number of deaths or leading causes of death in the United States for the reporting year 2017, heart disease took the lives of nearly 650,000. Cancer, nearly 600,000. Alzheimer's disease, 121,000. Influenza and pneumonia, nearly 56,000. Intentional self-harm and suicide, 47,000. What is interesting about these statistics is that we have foundations and movements supported by millions of Americans, funded by billions of dollars to try to mitigate or stamp out these terrible causes of death. But what is the single most preventable cause of death that is not reported here? It is abortion. Ladies and gentlemen, the most dangerous place for a human being to be in the modern era is inside the mother's womb. For human beings inside their mother's womb, the death rate by elective abortion exceeds all other causes of death. Yet we see no panicked press conferences, and we see no great fear being expressed for those of us who are too small to have a say in the matter. Perhaps that's why it is so easy for us to kill our own in such massive numbers, because those babies don't have a chance to speak for themselves. My friends, that is our job. It is our job to speak for the babies who are in such grave danger at this very moment. It is always the right time to pray, and it is very important to know this. If you believe in a God who can bless a nation, you had better also believe in the same God who can bring his wrath upon a nation as well. Because according to these statistics and how we have neglected our own duties to protect our own children, we don't deserve blessings, we deserve wrath. Are we more advanced and less barbaric than those awful heathens from the ancient past? In the ancient land of Canaan, which is spoken of historically in the Bible, many man-made gods were worshipped, including Molech, which required periodic sacrifices of infants into the white-hot burning hands of the idol. If the parent showed any emotion, the sacrifice was invalidated, and another infant had to be offered. To drown out the screams of the child, they sang and shouted and played musical instruments loudly. Now, we might look at this account and think, well, thank goodness we have evolved into much more reasonable people today. We're obviously more awake, aware, loving, and compassionate than those awful people. Are we? We murder our children on a much grander scale, and we do it in private. We call it a medical procedure, and we sanitize it, and we anesthetize one another's sensibilities with lies about a mother's choice, or inconvenience, or hardships. 1 million babies per year we passively allow to be murdered in our midst, and we think we are advanced, progressive, compassionate, and good. Atheists often argue that God is a monster for destroying a whole nation of people. I submit to atheists and Christians alike. We do not deserve God's mercy. We deserve his wrath, and it is long overdue. The Canaanites had been warned for hundreds of years by the prophets of the day. God's wrath is total, but he is just. He is fair and merciful and provides ample opportunity for all to come to the truth that is in salvation through the blood of his Son, Jesus Christ. Before Jesus died on the cross, he shouted out an Aramaic phrase whose English equivalent is, "It is finished," meaning the price has been paid for the sin of all mankind. And his own teaching taught us that his gift of grace is offered to whosoever believes in him. His sacrifice was offered to provide you access to his grace and mercy. What is grace and mercy? Grace is when we receive that which we do not deserve, which is the offer of forgiveness for our inevitable immorality. Mercy is when we don't receive that which we do deserve, which is God's wrath for the evil we cause and allow. Let's get our perspectives straight and our priorities in order. Much greater than any virus or pandemic, we are the greatest threat to human life by virtue of our silence and passiveness, as our own children are destroyed around us every year at the highest rate of any reported cause of death. While we tremble in fear over media reports of viral pandemics, and while we congratulate ourselves on our preparedness and our ability to respond to a crisis, abortion is quietly the leading cause of death in the United States and likely the world by a long shot. And it is 100% preventable. May God have mercy on our murderous nation.